Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we will start the session, and so we will start reading the refuge and bodhicitta lines. And as we all know, the purpose of reading these four lines that help us to have a right states of mind or positive states of mind to join this gathering, reading this amazing, beautiful, the prayer, King of Prayer, and also part of training ourselves, training our minds, thoughts, emotions. When we engage in activities, engage with these, with activities, with a positive, constructive mind. So for those two purposes, all the time we read these four lines. And just briefly to remind ourselves, first two lines help us strongly to hold the mind taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the last two lines help us to experience the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta. As a follower of the teachings of the Buddha, holding the mind taking refuge, not only this kind of gathering, but in the morning, every day, in the morning, during the day, in the afternoon, in the evening, holding that mind is extremely, helpful to ourselves to feel we have refuge. Though, our lives may not be perfect, might be lots of challenges, collectively and individually. Still, following the teachings of the Buddha, that give us sense of genuine security, at least at the mental level, and then holding the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, mind which sincerely, genuinely, the cares, well-beings of all living creatures, as a follower of the Bodhisattva and the teachings, and many of us to follow the Vajrayana teachings, and holding that this altruistic awakened mind is a very important part of following the Bodhisattva and the teachings and the Vajrayana teachings. So therefore, training ourselves, familiarizing ourselves, getting used to hold these two minds, is something worthwhile and helpful to do. So we will say the refuge and bodhicitta lines together. Sanje cheda tsoji chona mala chanju pado dane gyabso che dage jinso jebe tsona manje dola penje sanje do para sho sanje cheda tsoji chona mala chanju pado dane gyabso che dāgī jī sō jī bē tsō nāma jī dōlā pēnjē sāngjē tō bārā chō sāngjē chō dā tsō jī chō nāma chāngjō pāntō dāne gyā sō jī dāgī jī sō jī bē tsō nāma jī dōlā pēnjē sāngjē to para show. Oh yeah, thank you. And now part of you know cultivating, experiencing sense of stillness, sense of clarity within our the mental state. In other words, our basic states of mind is in that kind of quality of stillness and the clarity. And that can be, those two qualities can be cultivated using many different techniques. And here we are, chanting the six syllable mantra, cherishing mantra, and part of, it's called expressing our deep sense of compassion, love, and compassion towards all living creatures, living beings, including ourselves and our loved ones. And through that, and cultivating stillness and the clarity. Oh, yeah. Thank you. You may hear the chanting behind, and that is during the term. This is now the month started. So this is during the term time, and in the full moon day, in the evening, the monks who go to the debating yard, they come to the main temple at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, evening, and have lots of chantings. That's why you are hearing the recitations. Oh, yeah. So today, I will just once again, because we are now finishing this beautiful prayer, King of Prayer, and the all of you people who joined, this reading this beautiful text, and and myself, the the reading the text, what is uh, important for us. Now today we are going to conclude it is important to not to be polluted with the unwholesome or unhealthy mental attitudes. And this is very nicely captured by a verse written by Jetsun Drakpa Shedrup, and he's one of his nice, beautiful short prayer. Shegi kedo patang, chakpatang, kordang longjo nyetang, kurdeju, geje samne, namyang mimembe, lame changjo kune, gyurgyuchi. That is a beautiful, nice verse. So our reading this text, me reading and trying to comment, try to give some kind of interpretation, explanation, and you listen, contemplate, and so forth. All these activities, that we have done are not just, pure would like to increase our intellectual knowledge, shaky. Kedopa, just to become a famous scholar, shaky. Kedopa. Chakpadang, also not just to have a, good name or fame, shaky. Kedopa. Chakpadang. Korodang, also not to have followers, to have lots of retinues, that kind of, korodang. Longju, also it's not to gain material gains. Korodang longju nyeta. Kurdita. Also it is not to gain some kind of reverence, some kind of respect. Not for all those reasons. Then the last line, then the third line, Geji Samyan Namyang Mimembe. I have no desire, no yearning, all of these. Just, just simply intellectually would like to know, like to learn the subject, and or like to become a scholar, Kedopada, Chapa, fame, or retinues or the followers, material gain, and also reverence, And this third line says, Gejik Samya, even the short moments, even short period of time, I won't have even, the desire, even the short moments of time to these things, Then the last line, Lame Changju Kone Gyurjuji. All this, what I have done, the virtues, and particularly today here, the finishing the reading the King of Prayer, all these virtues only to become the causes and conditions to experience the full enlightenment, and that is really nicely, stated by Jetsun Drakpa. What kind of motivation, intention, dedication that we should do, when we are finishing an important event. So that is something very, very, very useful, very beautiful, text written by Jetsun Drakpa. Okay. So now going to our actual reading the text, King of Prayer. And now we finished up to verse 59, and today we'll start from the verse 60. Verse 60. So this from verse 60, the verse 60 is more to say that the longden to be simjing over, and the to receive prophecy, and and also to dedicate all the virtues for the sake of living beings. And that is the verse 60. It says dedication towards serving others. So I will read the verse first in Tibetan. Tene tage longden rap tene tulva mangu chiwa ta gyayi loi toki chukju namsoyan semjen nama pembar mangbuji. So it is like the previous, the 2-3 verses are saying, that may I be born in Pure Land, and the Pure Land of Buddha Amitabha, and being born in in the Pure Land of Buddha Amitabha, to perceive, to see the the directly, to see the the Buddha Amitabha, and to receive the prophecy, and this is also the part of continuation of that previous verse 59, and also before that. Terni means there. There refers to when we are born in the Pure Land of Buddha Amitabha. Terni. Dage longden raptene, by me to hear the prophecy, the complete prophecy. Daki means I. Ki by me, longden, that is the prophecy. Rap, full, complete. Turba means hearing. Raptene, by hearing the full prophecy, by myself when I was there. Then what I'll do, this next line, Durba Manguchua Tajai, me to the emanate, or emanate, or the emanate, or what you call the here, what they use the term, billions of emanation. Yeah. So the many from me, create many emanations. Or in other words, to create lots of emanations, lots of the emanation potential. Yeah. So to go towards all parts of the universe, and that's what he has with my billions of emanations. So receiving the prophecy directly from the Buddha Amitabha while in the Amitabha Pure Land, then from the my body, speech, and mind emanate billions of different forms and kinds, needs for the living beings. And it says, Tagyayi, with this in English. Loi toki chokju namsuyang, sent out through the power of my mind. And it is the third line in Tibetan is in the last part of the fourth line in English, in all the 10 directions. So that with my the mental power, all these billions of the emanations of me in many different forms, many different shapes, many different things. As I briefly read last Sunday, in Shantideva's, the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, Singda Samba Nidani, Galdu Namna Tudani. So may I become bridge who need to cross the river. May I become the boat, who need to cross the ocean. May I become the path to lead to the destination. Like that. So emanations can be, the Buddhas and those bodhisattvas, and in the future, our emanations can be just physical things like that, bridge, river, water, or can be living beings. So according to the sentient beings' need to create emanation and then reach there and to serve the living beings. So it says in Semjen Namla Pemba Mangbuji in Tibetan. So that means, may I bring enormous benefit to sentient beings. So being born in the Sukhavati, in the Pure Land, is not just enjoy in that state, being born in that state. It is very much as a bodhisattva's, as a practicing bodhisattva's deed. It is very much engaging with the bodhisattva's actions, and that is what here this verse. Okay, so then the next verse 61, and here added conclusion. So the verse 61, 62, 63, and 63, which are which 63 is the last verse from this prayer, is put it here conclusion. So first I will read these three verses in Tibetan. Sambuchebe malam tabai gyawa chungsa dagi chisabu teni dowe malam gyawa nam giji chigi dajan jorwashu kaya sambuchebe dingnobe sonam tambataya kangtopde drowa dungi chuburu chingwano wabamebe nerab tobarshu malam gyabu dida chokizu taye drowa kuma pencheching kundu sambuchebe shungdode nesongkyona malu tongwarshu. Oh yeah. So this the verse 61. Sambuchebe melam tabayi. So making, reciting, contemplating, listening, making prayer, of this what you call king of prayer. Sambuchebe melam. That's the this king of prayer. Refers to that. Tapa, Sammalam Tapa, making prayer, saying the prayer, listening the prayer, reading the prayer, and writing the prayer. Tabai, Gewa Chungse, Gewa virtues. Chungse means even little, tiny. Gewa Chungse, Dage Chisakpa, whatever virtues that I have created or accumulated, gathered, whatever term that you use, sakpa. Tene, by that, doemalam gyawanam, doa, migrated beings, sentient beings, the malam gyawanam, gijechiki, tamje chorwasho. In other words, that by reading, by listening, by contemplating, by reading this, the king of prayer, and whatever virtues that I have received, even this tiny, smallest bit, those virtues may become the, the sources or the causes that all the the aspirations, bodhisattvas aspirations, Buddhas and the bodhisattvas aspiration, be accomplished, be achieved, be accomplished, even in the shortest moment. Gijichik, gijichik tamje jorwasho. just in a short moment. Here, translated saying, all be instantly accomplished. So that is really nice. Our days, last few months, bit by bit, verse by verse, reading, listening, contemplating, and the virtues that we have gained by participating these activities with this prayer, and all those virtues to dedicate to become the causes and conditions, that all those amazing aspirations, that these bodhisattvas have got, and we got, to instantly, accomplish the living beings' need. So that sort of things. That is the verse 61. Kaya sangbocheba dingebe sonam tambataya kangtopte. And now this verse 62 is once again that dedication, the virtues that we have dedicated, the virtues that we have gained through making that dedication, even that virtues were also, saying this, sonam tabataya kangtote, by, in other words, saying, kaya sangbochoba dingebe, that is virtues, that are gained from the reading, listening, contemplating the King of Prayer, and that dedication that I've done, those virtues, and even though those merits, those wholesomeness, sonam tambataya kangtote, which is the second, attained by dedicating this aspiration of good actions. It's in English, it is in the first line, through the truth and boundless merit. Sonam, merit, the Thai boundless, Tamba, best or truth, or what they translate truth. Then it is dedicated in the next two lines. Doa dunge chuburu chingwanam. The saying that may all those now dawning in the ocean of suffering. And that is, the nice, very powerful analogy is used. Doa dunge chuburu chingwa. Chingwa, here in English translated, drowning in, the suffering, into sufferings, into, these samsaric predicaments. And it is true, isn't it? Drowning in the sense, although, we are us being born as human beings, and occasionally we will have, the time to enjoy, things and events that we have got. But that enjoyment is not, usually don't last that long. Soon after, another samsaric event will take place, and then what you call that enjoyment will take away, and that is the meaning here, drowning. When people drown in water, occasionally they get, not all, but some, occasionally they get, to come up briefly above the water to get, a brief chance to breathe. And that is what here meaning, drowning in the ocean of suffering. I mean, look at or as overall, even in the human, community, even in the human society, consider as a, human, according to the teachings of the Buddha, according to the Buddhist philosophy, among the samsaric, the birth that we can take the human existence is one of the fortunate existence. But even in, the beings like us being born in that fortunate, existence, but still we have this, collectively and individually endless these, struggles. Look at what's happening in Burma, at the moment. It is just, the quite often that we use terms saying we are in the 21st century and talk about we are in a sort of using all this very advanced technology and so on and so forth. But still, the people are suffering with this kind of very brutal one group of human beings and killing another group of human beings. So that sort of thing. Here, may all those now drowning in the ocean of suffering reach the supreme realm of Amitabha. So now here, of course, in the Vajrayana teachings, there are lots of teachings, lots of explanations of Pure Land, of different deities, and so on and so forth. But the actual, overall Buddhist philosophy, the Pure Land is very much, if you go back to the teachings of the Buddha, his first teachings, the Four Noble Truths, the actual peace, actual peace will experience within ourselves. Cessation, which is the third noble truth, which is liberation, the cessation of suffering and the origin of suffering will take place within our psyche, within our mental state, not something outside our mental state, not something outside, who we are, as an individual. That cessation of suffering and origins of suffering will take place within ourselves. So Pure Land will take place within ourselves. It's not something external, as I jokingly say, not something like what you call the holiday resorts to book, and anyway. So and then the verse 1663. So this, may this king of aspiration bring about. So Mölam Gyalbo. Mölam is aspiration or prayer, king of prayer. Why it's called king? And this commentator, that commentary that I'm reading, because it is in this prayer, it's called king of prayer. It is called king in the sense, in this prayer, almost all the bodhisattvas' aspirations are captured in these verses, in this prayer. That's why it is called king of prayer, because all the amazing aspirations that bodhisattvas have or Buddhas have, all are captured in this prayer. And that's why Mölam Gyalbo, king, is our Chogitso. Then, the next line is another very big Tae Doakuna Pencheching. And this in Tibetan, this word Tae, which is very, very important word. And in English here they translate it saying, all infinite. So this all infinite word gives us not selection. The prayer that we do, of course, when we read, the prayer, king or prayer, for the sake of a specific person, but we must think, all living beings along that specific person, along that particular person. We must think that all living beings. And this in Tibetan word Thai, infinite, it has many different meanings in here. Infinite in the sense to make us, to help us to think vast numbers of sentient beings that need our prayer. And also it helps us to not to be selected, not to be, what you call the, exclusion, to include all, every living creatures. And this Tibetan word Thai, Dwakuna Penjichin, to benefit infinite. Thai Dwakuna Penjichin. Kundu Sambu Jebe Shung Dukde. May the perfect what is described in this holy prayer, uttered by Samantabhadra, Kundu Sambo, that Samantabhadra prayer, that say that prayer. If you remember, the story, how this prayer come into existence, which I told you at the beginning of this, this text. Kundu Sambu Jebe Shung Dupde. So this prayer come into existence due to, because of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, that he really perfectly expressed or described this. May the lower realms be entirely empty. So that is the last line from this prayer. So that is really the end of the, what you call the prayer, the King of Prayer. So what I will do, I will read the entire King of Prayer in Tibetan as a part of, although I read each in the verse that I try to comment in Tibetan in English. I may have missed one or two words or lines or verses, I don't know. But anyway, just part of giving as a oral transmission. And I have received several times this oral transmission from great masters like two of those His Holiness great tutors, Deputy Rinpoche and Deputy Tijang Rinpoche, and also some of my other great teachers. And so, in terms of the receiving, the continuation, I have that. So I will read this slowly in Tibetan, and you can just listen, my reading Tibetan. Jagarketu. Ayapada Chaya Tani Dana Zara. Köketu Sambochebe Melamki Kebo. Jabeshuna Jubala Chatselo. Chinyezo da Jojo Jidena, Tusum Shabami, Singe, Dage Malu Tada, Tamje, Ludangae, Tame, Chagio, Sambochebe, Yawatam, the Tambi, Yomasumdo, Shingi, Tunye, Yawa Gunla Rabdo, Chancelo, Tuche, Tina, Tunye, Sanje, City, Shuba, Tada Jujin, Lama Luba, Tamje, Jawa, Dage, Tonglam, Tada Naba, Mise, Jazo, Nama, Yanjin, Jazo, Chabi, Jawa Bunji, Yende, Rabjin, Jawa, Shiva, Tamje, Dage, Medo, Tamba, Changwa, Tamba, Da, Senyen, Namda, Juba, Tujo, Mame, Choda, Dubu, Tamba, Jawa, Teta, Shiva. Nasa Tamba Namda Tichoda, Chema Poma Rira, Gobe, Kabara Pabe, Chugindi, Jawa, Lani, Choba, Kano, Lani, Jachewa, Dita, Jawa, Tanjela, Samochola, Tebe, Topage, Jawa, Kona, Chanze, Choba, the Jashidan, Demo, Wangene, Luta, Mata, Tijin, Divada, Geba, Chicheba, Dita, Tamje, Tage, Sozor, Chuju, Jawa, Kunda, Sanje, Rangen, Melo. Goa Kunji Sanam Kalaya, Teda Kunji Cheso Tayin, Kana Jojo Jigden Dromada, Chanjo Rimba Sanje Majan, Gombo Kunji Tondo Tachio, Kolo Lan Gombo Teta Tamjeta, Kolo Lana Meba Goa Go Nyange Tate Kajen Teta, Doa Kona Pejin Devi Che Kewa Shingi Tini Shuban, Dage Temo Rajo Sawa de Chanza Watan Chuji Chawa, Jeso Hina Guji Sowa Kewa Chungse Dage Jisao, Tamje Dage Chanju Chemo, Deve Sanje Namda Chuju Jigden Dana Kashu Chuju, Kanya Majun Jigden Romana, Samzo Chaju Rimba Sanje, Chuju Gale Shonam Chini Ba, Teda Jajin Zo Taju, Chanju Xinhua Zhongxin Jiawa Dan Sanje Sije Rato Kawan, Chuju Semje Gana Chini Ba, Teda Dado Neme Deyo, Zhuwa Kunji Chuji Tenane, Tumba Zhuji Rawan Zhuwa, Chanju Jiawa Dane, Daju Jin, Jiawa Gundo Jiawa Chenju, Sero Gundo, Chebo Jiawa Na, Dado Dane Rato Chongwa, Jiawa Kunji Jisu Lubyo De, Sambo Jiawa Yunzo Soji, Tsurim Jiawa Time Yodaba, Dado Manime Time Jiawa, Taye Gedan Ludan Nujin Ge, Jumbo Dada Mi Kanam, Zhuwa Kunji Tanam Chizamba, Tamje Gedo Tage Chende, Tishin Baro Chinla Rabdun De, Changju Simne Namya Jema, Diva Kana Tiba Juba Da, Teda Male Tage, Also Changwa, Leda Nimo Duye Lenam Le, Drishin Jigden Zhuwa Nuzun, Chita Pema Chime Chaba Chin, Ninda Naba, Koba Medan, Shinge Jonama Chanama Chizamba, Nizon Dunge Rabdo Shiva, Doa Dala Doa Kunge Jin, Doa Tamche Lane Pemba, Chanjo Joba Yonzo Zoje Jin, Simjin Tage, Chotan Tumba, Sambo Joba Dane Rabde Jin, Mao Keba Kundo Juju, Tage Joda Tsumba, Kangjoba, Teda Dane Dato Joba, Yutangada Dane Simje Jang, Joba Tada, Malama Chico, Dala Pembra Tube, Trobo Gang, Sambo Joba, Rabdo Dina, Teda Daya Da Dato Chebar Show, Teda Dagi, Namia Yimi, Sanje Seji, Kowe, Gombo Nama, Musum Dato Dagi Jawa, Mao Keba Kundo Mijowa, Teda. Choba Jaji, Jawa Namji, Tambe, Chujin, Chanju, Choba, Kundo Nawa, Sambo Choba, Number Choba, Mao Keba Kundo Choba, Siva Damje, Tuya, Kowana, Sonoma Yeshe, Tani, Missing. Tata Shara Tende Nanda Yuan Kuji Mise Jojo Deji Tena Tuni Shinamade Shinde Sanje Mejo Sanje Sanje Seye Una Shubala Chanjo Choba Jishin Tawa Teta Male Tambe Chozo Ya Tazam Kyola Tusum Tsengi Sanje Jazo Shino Jazo Da Keba Jazo Jishin Rado Sumjin Ala Jazo Tagunji Jawa Kuya Namda Jowa Kunji Samba Chishin Ya Sanje Soma Dado Juban Tuso Java Java Tamjeda Kolu Sunarabdo Goan Teda Kia Sunya Misela Loye Toge Dajan Rabdo Mao Geba Tamje Jupaya Giji Chige Dajan Juban Kaya Geba Tuso Tsede Da Giji Chashe Jine Juban Tuso Shawami Singe Ka Dage Teda Giji Chila Dage Dado Teda Kini Jula Juma Juban Namda Toge Kaya tu soma dagi shingu ba, teta duje tingdo ba, teta mali chonama tamje do, jawa dagi shinama kala, kaya ma jen jikden choma nama teta rimba, changja kolo, nyange dewa rabdo shita dun, kombo kunji chungdo da chiyo, kundo nyuwe, zuru tomna da, kunne kuwe, tekwe tomna, kundo yunde jube tomna da, kundo chaba chaba dagi, Kunegewe, Somnam, Tomnada, Chaba, Meba, Juve, Shero, Doda, Tinze, Topdage, Chanju, Tonamayanda, Juba, Lege, Tonayo, So, Taje, Nimo, Tomna, Kundo, Choba, 되게 또는 또 매랍제제 상보 제외 또는 또번 신호 자조 남바라 타제제 심제 자조 타네 남바 천호 자조 람도 통제제 이시 자조 람도 또번 조번 자조 남바라 타제제 말람 자조 조번 산제 자조 람도 주게제 개발 자조 민요 조번 가야도 손셰베 자와의 자주 제외 말람 제랑 상보제외 창조 상계네 대금 다게 조반 야와 군제 세계 토바 관계면에 혼도 사실 개발되다 총발의 제외제 개발되다 담제라도 당하다의 자남다지 개발남다 신앙야다 뭐와 상보 개발 진짜와 대다대다 대당 총발 군내계 상보 제외제의 자배기네 말로 저반 마오 개발 군도 미교와 대차와 말을 저번에 저반탄에 체험만 교류지 연대는 최종 매번 저반쯤에 발언에 자 대다 주바 탐제 차와 남게 타도 교바 지상바 sem지에 말을 타에 대신 지상래가 님모 타교바 다게 말람 타야 대자모 가연주주신나 타에바 린제 겐데 자와 남라 하다메 대화 전남자 신기군이 그바포 가게모에 자보디되네 자주 쪽에 제소라메 내제사면 대화제바나 선음 담배 초도 되죠 관계 상주 면은 대답에 대내에서 탐제 방방 대내 조봉에 봐 방방에 나와 타에 대한 대년 대단히 바람니 대화소 미세 대단 대방 고도 상보대야 진짜와 대단히 보미도 대신 세명하고 단계 디바나마 관계 미시 왕계 셔바 대상보 저바 디주나 뉴도 말려서 차와 이시에 단에 소당 세나마다 리다 카도 남자 대만 되다 모디 마보테메도 지겐 소보나 저와 장주 신화 정도 대뉴조 손에 심제 편제대도 장주 상계 콜로 랍도고 되는 대단 저와 탐제 가야 상보제베 말람디 창화단에 또놈로나 대나바메바 상계제 장주 초라 숨예마제 잠배 바오 제다의 템바타 군도 상보대 대신 대다 군제 제소 달로제 개와 대다 탐제라도 조선셰베 개와 탐제제 모아 강나 초동아반 다게게 자와 대교장 상보주제라도 모아 다네주에 되게 결바나 디바 탐제 다네 치세대 무슨 나와 타에 대동 대화쟁이 신대라도 대송내네 말만 대다 탐제 말로 온도 좋아서 대다 말로 당게 용서 지겐 시세 생계 펜버리게 개회经过 상시에 가와 배마 탐보신도 제레게 나와 대 개회 무슨 농대 봐야 당게 들도쇼 됐네 당게 농대 같은 조바만 보초와 차자의 로에 도기 추주는서 생제나라 펜바만 보지 상보지에 말로 따봐 개와 중세 다게 지사바 되네 되게 말로 개와 기제지게 탐제 좋아쇼 상보지에 말로 와 선음 담바 타에 강도대 좋아 등의 추구로 정원 여바메베 너로 토바쇼 말로 잡고 대다 척에서 타에 좋아 공나 편지 군도 상보지에 중도대 내손 윤남 말을 동와라 Oh yeah. Then I would like to uh, read 2, 3 mantras as a one. Oh yeah. Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. That is Tara mantra. Most of you know. And then the Medicine Buddha mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Bekinje Guru Bindruya, Pavarajaya, Tatakadaya, Arahate, Samyak Sam, Buddhaya, Tayatha, Om Bekenze, Ma Bekenze, Raja Samukati Soha, Om Namo Bhagavate, Bekenze, Guru Bindruya, Pavarajaya, Tatakadaya, Arahate, Samyak Sam, Buddhaya, Tayatha, Om Bekenze, Ma Bekenze, Raja Samukati Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate, Bekenze, Guru Binduya, Baba Rajaya, Tathakataya, Arahate, Samya Sambuddhaya, Tayatha, Om Bekenze, Maha Bekenze, Raja Samukadi Soha. That is Medicine Buddha. Then the Vajrasattva. Om Vaja Sadhu Samaya, Manupalaya, Vajrasattva. Dino Padita, Didro Mebawa, Soto Koyo Meba, Subo Koyo Mebawa, Anaradu Meba, Sawaside Me Pariacha, Sawakama Susame, Chitam Shiri Kurum, Ha 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 Ho, Bhagavan, Sawatadakada, Vajar Mamumusa, Vajar Bawama, Samaya Sato, Ah Hung Pe, Om Vajrasattva, Samaya, Manupalaya, Vajrasattva, Dino Padita, Didro Mebawa, Soto Koyo Mebawa, Subukayo Mebawa, Sudukayo Mebawa, Anarado Mebawa, Sawasidi Mebar Yacha, Sawakama Suzame, Jidam Shirim Guruhum, Ha 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 Ho, Bhagavan, Sawatadakada, Vajar Mamumeza, Vajar Baba, Ma Samaya Sad, Ahum Pe, Om Vajar Sadhu, Samaya, Manupalaya, Vajar Sadhu, Dino Patita, Dito Mebawa, Subukayo Mebawa, Sudukayo Mebawa, Anaradu Mebawa, Sawasidi Mepariacha, Sawakama, Suzame, Jidam, Shirim, Guruhum, Ha 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 Ho, Bhagavan, Sawatadakata, Vajar Mamumuza, Vajar Bava Ma, Samaya, Sadhu Ahum Pe. That is the Vajrasattva. And this is Buddha Mitrapa. I think many of you have received initiation from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and he gave several times in Europe and also in UK. Namo Ratna Dayaya Om Kamkani Rochani Trotani Trasani Patiyana Patihana Sawakama Parampurani Sawa Sete Nenza Soha Om Namo Rana Dayaya Om Kamkani Rochani Trotani Trasani Patiyana Patihana Sawakama Parampurani Sawaside Menza Soha Namorana Traya Om Kamkani Rochani Trotani Trasani Patihana Sawakama Parampurani Sawaside Nenza Soha. And this is, the recite very often to purify the negativities. So those are the few mantras as to many of you recite, I'm sure, very often, and sometimes quite useful to have that kind of oral transmission. Okay, now we have a little bit time. So what we'll do today, instead of having questions, we will not take any questions. What I'll do, we will continue to do the Tara prayer and then do the dedication. And before we do that, I would like to say just a few words. That is to say thank you for all the people who joined reading this text, and also some of you joined the previous text. They are, in Tibetan we call Melam Namgu. Melam, aspiration or prayer. Nambagu, there are 9 the prayers which put into as a what you call the package, as a package. And so the king of prayer comes first. And all the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, the number might be slightly different, king of prayer that we today now concluded, and that Maitreya Buddhist prayer that we did before this. These two, which is the second, all the different Tibetan Buddhist traditions recite. When particularly when they are, when we go to funeral prayer, and the third one is the 10th chapter, of the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which is called dedication chapter. And so that's in Gelug tradition, that's the third chapter. These are the common all the Tibetan Buddhist traditions that we do, and the 10th chapter dedication. And in Gelug tradition, then the third, fourth, there's a beautiful prayer composed by Jetsun Drakpa, which is called Toktama. Toktama means virtues at the beginning, middle, and end. And there's a nice, beautiful, prayer. And then the next one, fifth one, is that text that we are going to read in our next gathering in May. And that is the in Gelug tradition, that is the fifth one. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to say, and the remainings are much shorter ones. I will not go. Maybe next time I will say that. So the so far out of 9, rest are very short. Out of 9, now the King of Prayer. Many of you read, which is very, very nice to read, and you receive some explanation. But verses are not that difficult to understand. Meaning of the verses are not that difficult to understand. They are quite easy to understand. And then also we read that the second prayer, Maitreya Buddhist prayer, and then the third one we haven't done, which is the 10th chapter of the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. So, which is nice to many of you have studied many different texts, many different philosophical views, and so on and so forth. And sometimes it is good to have reading these short prayers to bring the emotional level, in the emotional level, to bring those, because all of, as we saw, verse by verse that we have studied, such as the Four Noble Truths, such as the Two Truths, such as bodhicitta, such as emptiness, they all bring together in these verses, and sometimes quite nice to have this, I don't feel I'm really, leading any, or giving you any new things which you don't know by going through this. But as a group, as a collective, together, working together, which helps, has different meaning, different purpose, and different energy. So myself enjoy very much reading, these prayers during this very difficult time, individually and collectively. So that is what I would like to say. And now we are going to go to the part of our dedication, that is reading first 21 Thana prayers. Om Jesu Ma Pama Droma La Cha Se Lo Chanze Droma Nyuma Pa Mo Chine Keji Lo Dan Cha Chide Songwe Chuji Che Ji Kesa Jiwa Nene Jum Chanze Tongge Dawa Kundo Kangwa Jene Zikbe Shawa Ma Kama Tongda Tsoba Nama Ji Rabdo Chewe Ram Baram Chanze Sengwe Chune Je Je Peme Changne Nabara Jam, Jeba Zundu Gato Shewa, Soba Samden Ju Nim, Changze Tejin Shepe Zudo, Taye Nabara Jawa Juma, Malu Paro Jimba To, Jave Seji Shindo Tem, Chanze Doda Rahung Ye, Duda Choda Namka Kam, Jigden Dombo Shaki Nen, Luba Meba Guba Numa, Chanze Jajin Mela Tam, Lungla Nazo Wanju Chema, Jombo Rana Tisanam, Nujun Soje Dune Tema, Chanze Teje Chadam Pej, Paru Tugo Rabdo Jom, Yeboyen Jashabi Nen, Meba Tuba Shindo Parama, Chanze Ture Chiba Chem, Duji Pao Nambara Jom, Chuji Shane Chunye Den, Tao Tamje Malu Sema, Chanze Kunjo Sumzen Chaj, Seme Toga Nambara Jem, Malu Choji Kolo Jem, Rangi Veji Sonoma Chema, Chanze Rabdo Kawaji, Ujin Veji Tenwa Bema, Sheba Rapshe Tuta Rai, Dudan Jigden Wando Zema, Chanze Sashi Jongwe Ton, Tamje Guba Numa Nyema, Chonyi Yewa Yike Hong, Pongba Tamje Nambara Choma, Chanze Tawe Tumbu Uj, Yenba Tamje Shindo Parama, Rebe Chune Waba Tabara Shindo Verava Tsema, Chanze Kebe Tama Men, Barwe Tingwe Wine Nema, Yejang Yungumu Kune Koro, Daye Pone Nambara Chom, Chanze Sashi Ngala Chaj, Tegi Nujin Shabji Doma, Chonyi Chenze Yege Hong, Remba Dumbo Namne Gema, Chanze Dema Gema Shem, Nyangen Deshin Ju Nyema, Soa Wamda Yanda Den, Dikwa Chenpo Jomba Nyema, Chanze Kune Korabaka, Daye Lune Nambara Gema, Yege Chube Ngane Kub, Rikwa Hongle Doma Nyema, Chanze Dore Shamida, Honge Nambe Sabu Nyema, Rera Menda Ratambe, Jigden Somna Yowa Nyema, Chanze Faye Choye Nam, Rida Dajin Chana Nam, Tara Nije Peje Ye, Duna Malu Pane Sema, Chanze Faye Sonam Je, Tada Miam Ji Dema, Gune Goja Kawaji, Zeda Melama Ngemba Sema, Chanze Nima Tawa Je, Jini Pola Erab Selma, Hara Nije Tudara, Shindo Tabu Rimne Selma, Chanze Tini Sumnam Ge, Shive Tuda Yanda Dema, Duda Rona Nujun Son, Chomba Dure Rapcho Nima, Zawenga Di Duba Di, Chanze Wane Nishu Ji. Dedication. Gewa di jiwo gun, suna ma yi she cao cao jin, suna ma yi she le chung le, tangpa gu nye to pa ra sho. Changju semjo renpo che, ma je pa na ma je juro je, je pa nyamba me pa yang, kong ne kong du pe wa ra sho. Kare rave korve shinkama de, pendang de wa ma lu jungwe ne, chen re se wan ten chen kya so ye, sha be se de pan tu ten yo ro chen. Thank you very much. And I will see you in May, people who are able to join.
Hope so.
Of course.
Thank you,
Yes.
Geshe. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Geshe.
Very much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe. Really looking forward to May.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much,
Thank you,
Geshe.
Geshe.
Take care and keep well.
Always I want to say thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Giant hug to everyone. Giant hug to
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Gratitude.
Very well.
Thank you, Geshe.
Join with the Facebook, and also people who will listen this they record it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Get to love as well.
Thank you.
Well.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Very
you.
well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you.